You want to be hardcore, you want to be extreme. Well, if you're like the Sandman, then you're listening to the podcast Drunk Wrestling History, dudes. And please be drunk when you hear it.
We've got Bush.
I like to fuck. Do you like to fuck?
It's just money shots, chairs all over Barrett.
Those guys with Bang Bus think they're a big deal. My dick is small.
What's up, Drunk Marks and Drunk Marquettes? Welcome to Drunk Wrestling History. I'm your designated host, Adam, and they are the Drunk Wrestling Historians.
This is Eddie. I just flew in from Pittsburgh, and boy, is my liver tired.
You couldn't have AI do that bit for you?
I could remember that one. I didn't need to use the AI for that.
And this is Scott, the man of 1,004 drinks.
Thank you all very much for joining our episode. No matter what platform you are on, we are glad to have you all with us here while we get liquid courage into our system and talk the good word that is wrestling history with all of you. First off, please make sure that you head over to whatamaneuver.net so you can buy Drunk Wrestling History t-shirts like this one that covers up my titties nice and well with a cool logo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holds them in place well.
Exactly.
It really does. They're so shapely.
Nice shirt or nice titties?
Both.
Either way. But,
what was it called that George Costanza's dad invented? A bro or something like that, remember? It was like for man boobs. We should start selling those.
I need to find that episode. But either way, you could get t-shirts, tank tops, hoodies, and onesies, especially for miniature drunk marks and drunk marquettes that you may have. As you can see, Drunk Wrestling History logo loud and proud on the chest. You could look like a true drunk wrestling historian by going to whatamaneuver.net and buying a fucking shirt.
Buy a fucking shirt. Adam, I don't know if you've experienced this yet, but word on the street is that shirt gets you laid, dude.
Can confirm.
There you go. We have one confirmation. That's good enough for me.
Yep.
Now everybody go buy a fucking shirt and get laid.
And if it gets you laid, tweet us and tell us about it.
Send pics at
Of
wrestling_drunk on Twitter.
Of the shirt or getting laid?
Preferably both.
Both.
Wear the shirt while getting laid.
Yeah, picture it didn't happen.
Anyways, also in the meantime, what do you have to drink?
I'm drinking one of my favorite beers, the Chavo Guerrero beer that you got us. I'm trying to put it on the camera and I'm going backwards. The Chavo beer, I'm going a little easy tonight. No liquor, no strong beers, because I just did like 7 days straight of drinking at Pittsburgh.
Yeah, you made it clear that your liver is tired.
It's tired. He's in bad shape right now. So
it's taking a beating.
Yeah,
so he's getting Pittsburgh dry.
Right, but a Chavo beer like this, that's practically a night off for the old liver.
That's Los Guerreros from Alasta.
I love when we have surprises that are unplanned, because, Eddie, much like you, I also am drinking a Los Guerreros, thanks to Adam, because they are delicious. It's definitely my beer of choice. It's my go-to.
It's like we're sharing one drunk brain.
Right, exactly. And I also hate when I get beer on the microphone, but at least I didn't piss on my mixer. Anyway.
That only happened once, and I didn't piss on it. I spilled piss on it.
I wasn't even going to go into detail, but thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
So cheers to you guys. And Adam, thank you for the beer.
You're welcome, L'chaim. They share one brain like, was it, in Pacific Rim.
What, they shared one rim job?
No.
That's rimming a Pacific Islander?
That's the Dear Lord, man.
Jimmy Snuka was so happy.
Yeah, rimming Tamina.
If you've watched Pacific Rim, you know what I mean. I've got some Henry Weinhard's root beer, my favorite beer, Root. And I'm pretty sure that one of you got this for me. So We're taking care of each other with liquid courage today.
I don't think I got that for you. That must have been Eddie and Carissa.
Either way, I'll take it.
Whatever.
Yeah. If Adam's happy, we're happy.
So anyway, before we get into this, Adam, just really quickly, I want to thank Putting You Over, who was kind enough to put us on his Twitch stream tonight. So if you guys are watching us on Twitch and you've never heard the show before, we hope you enjoy it. We basically do a goofy show. We do a lot of goofing on wrestling in general, and we drink, we have fun, and talk about wrestling. It's kind of the idea of the show is if you're hanging out with your friends in a bar talking about wrestling. That's what it is, and we're going to do the show as normal. I just wanted to say hi to anybody on Twitch, and to any of our regular listeners, if you want to go and watch this on Twitch so you can look at the three of us. Not that there's any reason for that.
Why would you want to do that?
But if you want to go check out the Twitch, we're there on Putting You Over. And that's really all I have to say about that, and I think we're ready to get into the episode.
Let's do this. For this week's episode, we are having a round-the-table discussion about matches that we wish would have happened.
Round 2.
Yes, this is round 2 because we recorded this about, 6 weeks ago, and my track dropped out halfway through, and it ended up being an unusable episode. There was nothing we could do to salvage it, and we're using StreamYard right now. This is our first time using StreamYard, and that records. So going forward, we'll hopefully have a backup recording from that.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with you dropping piss on the mixer for that one.
That was like a year ago.
That was just a
Or
random...
dropping a deuce on the mixer.
And it's worked since then. So
We're just
no,
covering all orifices.
It had nothing to do with that. How dare you? But so yeah,
Never drop a deuce.
So we did record this one. We're doing it again because we thought it was a fun episode. Someone requested it. Now I don't remember who. So I was like, well, shit, we already did it. It was fun. We were honoring someone's request. So let's just go back and do it again. And my list has changed.
I kept mine the same. It was so good.
Okay. Well, luckily, like you said, like I'm going to love Amnesia because I forgot what either of your, I don't remember a single match from either of you guys' list. So it's going to be like a brand new episode to me because my memory sucks.
Perfect.
So yeah, so there we go. Well, it doesn't, it helps that I didn't actually get to listen to the full episode, because I was listening back.
cut off halfway.
Right. I was listening back to edit it and then it got cut off and then I just stopped listening. So I only heard it the night we recorded and I was drunk at the time.
Right. So we're doing it all over again.
Do it all over
Your
again.
list is fresh. Mine and Adam's are going to be the same, but we'll have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yep. And to all our new listeners, if you join us on this journey, you're going to hear this a lot. It's a drunk podcast.
And buy a fucking shirt.
Exactly.
Please. FFS. All right. Who's starting? Am I starting or one of you?
Yes.
I'm starting.
Adam goes first.
I'm going to start off with, I would call him when he was still with WWE, Aleister Black and The Undertaker.
Yeah, because they were there for, you know what? We should say up front, because I don't think we mentioned this. The concept of this is not fantasy booking. It's matches that could have happened, but didn't.
Realistically.
So were two people who were in the same territory or company at the same time. So you can't book Bruno Sammartino versus CM Punk. It's got to be something that there was a possibility of it having happened. Right. So, yeah, Aleister and Undertaker were in WWE for 2 years together.
Yeah, about 2 years.
Aleister was
cumulative. Yeah,
Aleister had a match at 35, so Undertaker was still
against
there.
Bobby Lashley.
Is that? Well, I thought it was a tag match with Ricochet.
30. Oh wait, no, I'm thinking about 36. Yes, he was in that 4-way tag with Ricochet.
Yeah, okay, and then I guess he was also at 36. How you remember anything from 36? I have no idea.
So it could have been Aleister in lieu of AJ in the Boneyard match, right?
Yeah,
I believe Aleister was still around. So
he was absolutely around. Yeah.
Yeah, that could have been Taker's last match, and
that could have been kind of cool.
Easy book. Yeah,
Adam,
I think that's a great call. That's an easy booking job right there.
Yeah, I think you're right. That would actually been pretty cool to put the two of them in a Boneyard match. Yeah, I mean, Aleister would make more sense than AJ. AJ didn't really have anything to do with anything.
Anything
AJ was great
or anything mystical.
Yeah, and AJ's promos leading up to it were good and better than Aleister's would have been, I guess. But they could have done it in a totally different way. Aleister could have been like the, supernatural type thing with it, which could have been cool.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly like what really drew me towards this match. I saw it as like a passing of the torch of that supernatural character. Like we know that Undertaker is very, very near the end, and Aleister is up and coming. Like Aleister is also established. He's more of he's an aerial fighter as well, very well grounded. When he has to, great strength on him. His gimmicks of either like just being tatted up and having that leather vest, or when he has to do a promo in the ring, he could suit up. It just seemed like he found more of that dark style modern range that maybe the Undertaker had not been following. Not to say that that's wrong, because all gimmicks that Undertaker has done have been perfect. It just seemed like that good modernization of the Undertaker, and would have been a good passing of the torch between the two if they hooked up in the ring.
Was that supposed to be Undertaker's last match, or did it just kind of work out that way?
I think it kind of worked out that way.
I think it worked out, yeah.
In his in the last ride, I think he said that he did that and knew he was done, you know.
Got it.
Like he wasn't he didn't go into it necessarily thinking that. I think when you're him, you know any match could be the last one. But I think he did it and was like, this was so cool, I'm going to cut it off here. But it would have been kind of cool if Aleister, like you said, Scott, if he like passed the torch to the next supernatural type character. Not that I wanted to see Aleister do any supernatural type shit, but he could have beaten him in his last match.
Well, that's kind of where I was going with that, is if they knew it was the last match, it probably makes sense to have AJ in there, because I would say at that time, AJ's character was a lot more bulletproof than Aleister's was.
Right.
I don't know if Aleister's could have afforded a loss to The Undertaker. I mean, it probably could have.
Yeah.
But AJ, I guess, in that sense, made a lot more sense in that match. So instead of Aleister taking a loss, because you're going to let Undertaker go on top, of course, you have AJ take the pin or the loss instead of Aleister. So I guess the booking made sense, but it would have been way fucking cooler if it was Aleister in that match.
Totally.
I could totally see Undertaker beating Aleister, but still raising him up, showing him that respect, giving him that rub.
Yeah, that would have been awesome.
Yeah. Hey, really quickly before we get to the next one, and we'll figure out if you're going next or if I'm going next, Scott. So I have the Twitch stream open on my phone just because I wanted to see kind of what it looked like, and someone on there, and I'll stop it with the Twitch after this, because like I said, we were going to do like a regular episode that's on Twitch, not a Twitch episode. Someone asked like if we're about us. I think someone asked us, I'm having a hard time following the chat, but I'm also not paying that close attention, about us chatting in the Twitch, and like, shouldn't we be interacting with the Twitch stream? And yes, we probably should be, but I don't have Twitch open on the computer. It's only on my phone, and it would be a clusterfuck if I tried to do that. So
we'd almost need like a moderator to be watching that, right? And then like shout out
or
questions.
Shannon.
Yeah, maybe if we ever do it again, we could do that, something like that. I don't even have it open on my computer screen. So yeah, we're this is our first time doing this. We barely know what we're doing. We're almost 150 episodes into the podcast, and we barely know what we're doing with that.
Right.
So that's it for that. So you want to go next? Or you want me to go?
I'll jump in actually, because I'm going to be piggybacking off of Adam's last match that he had. But I'm going to get way more specific and say WrestleMania 31. Instead of Triple H versus Sting and Undertaker versus Bray Wyatt, I think we should have gotten the match that everybody wanted. That probably wouldn't have made a huge difference in WrestleMania 31's card, other than huge dream match.
Yeah.
But we should have gotten Undertaker versus Sting. Yeah,
I agree. Undertaker or Triple H and Sting made perfect sense, but that could have been Sting's second match.
Yes. Exactly.
And Bray and Undertaker was sort of a throwaway match. As much as I love Bray, especially then, and especially the way they built it, like Undertaker didn't even show up till that night, if I remember right. Like you weren't even sure.
Yeah, he may have been like the Raw before that. He showed up.
But Bray was calling him out, and you didn't know if he was going to be there.
Right.
So yeah, the match almost became kind of an afterthought on the rest of the card.
It 100% was. Like that was an Undertaker match that nobody was really giving a shit about. Triple H and Sting, that had a lot of hype around it. And the match itself was great. I loved it. It had all the bells and whistles. You had WWF versus WCW, which, you brought back the Monday Night Wars in one single match. But you could have kind of done that with Undertaker and Sting, too. And at the same time, I think a lot of people would have preferred, if you were going to have a dream match of WWF and WCW, I think Taker and Sting made a lot more sense than Triple H and Sting. As much as I enjoyed the match, whereas you said, Eddie, the Bray Wyatt and Undertaker match was kind of a throwaway.
Right.
I really feel that would have sated a lot of appetites in the crowd to get that WWF WCW dream match, because people wanted that back in 2012. If you remember, they ran those vignettes shortly before the WrestleMania that year where they were teasing something and people were going batshit crazy thinking it was Sting.
Right.
And then everybody was like, oh, Undertaker and Sting would be fucking amazing. You actually had both guys on the roster 3 years later. You saw the hype that was generated in 2012.
Yeah.
And I feel that they really missed out by not capitalizing on that at WrestleMania 31 in 2015.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen it, dude. And yeah, of course, neither guy was in their prime, but still, I mean, it was fucking Taker and Sting, dude.
Yeah, and they could have done, I don't think they would have needed all the bells and whistles, and they wouldn't have made sense with Undertaker anyway. I mean, I guess they could have, because Undertaker was like the WWE's guy, you know, the guy who'd never leave the company. He was the Sting version, or the WWF version of Sting.
Right.
He never really had a lot of interactions with DX and shit, so, but
no, but
whatever.
you could have brought out like Kane.
Well,
you know?
he did have the history with Triple H and Shawn Michaels, though, from 28. So that's only 3 years removed from that. So I guess those guys coming out and helping him would have made sense. Even
That
though
would have
Triple H
totally made sense.
theoretically would have already had a match, you know. So I guess a lot of that still would have made sense. So yeah, I think you went with like, it's almost like the match, like how did I not think of that? Or how did Adam not think of that? It's almost like the most obvious match that should have happened that never did.
Yeah, it's kind of a gimme, but it's one of those, like, I feel that they really missed the boat, because like you said, this is a fantasy booking. This was an episode based on, could this have actually happened?
Right.
And at WrestleMania 31, this absolutely could have happened, and it never did, because Sting's career was over, within the next 9 months or something like that, or 8 months?
And I'd almost be surprised if they didn't have that penciled in for 32. But when you got two older guys, like that, don't fuck around, you know?
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, thank goodness Sting is back in the ring wrestling now. That's great for AEW.
Yeah.
But missed opportunity on WWE's part.
Right, after Vince made him retire, you know.
Yeah.
Vince retired him like he retired the paralegal.
That only cost $3 million.
Yeah, Sting didn't get treated quite as well as a paralegal, I don't think.
No.
But by the way, drunk fact, they talk about WrestleMania 31. You hear that referred to as WrestleMania play button.
Yes.
That is WrestleMania play
correct.
button, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Getting drunk.
I wish I had that song queued up.
I should have warned you.
Okay, so
No,
I will
Scott's
get
given
my...
the better version.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't have an actual recording of that. I wish I would have recorded a video of those guys that night that happened.
It was a party.
Okay, my first one is the Road Warriors versus the Dudley Boys.
Oh, shit.
Now, you might be thinking, how would that have ever happened? When were they ever in the same place at the same time?
It could have. Yep, it could have.
They were in the same company for one day. May 12th, 2003, the Road Warriors had a match on Raw. I'm sorry, you're nodding your head like you knew this, Scott. I'm surprised you...
No, I know this, the
you
match
remember
you're
this.
talking about.
You remember them
the
coming
match.
back.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm a huge Road Warriors mark. Of course I
Right,
remember
I
it.
totally forgot about it. I completely forgot about
remember
it until I
it, yeah.
started kind of looking into some stuff for this episode. They came back. They had one match on Raw. They wrestled RVD and Kane.
And Kane, yeah.
And they were, of course, hoping it was going to get them a job, you know, because they were,
Of course.
I think they were still, or Animal anyway, was still with WCW when they closed.
He was, yeah. He was actually in the close, or in the opening montage dealie.
Yeah.
Animal
and he
was in that.
And Vince on the Raw episode that was taking place at the same time was watching Animal on TV and commenting on him, which actually we'll talk about that in next week's episode. But I didn't even realize they were still in WCW at the time, but so they were basically unemployed, you know, in 2003.
Animal was. It was only Animal, though. Hawk was not
Okay.
in WCW. Yeah.
And I'm surprised they brought him in at that point because they were, you know, 20 years almost into their career. Animal had a lot of issues. There was a lot of baggage. So even if they came in and had the best match of their career and were completely professional, I would be shocked if they even got a deal. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know if that Raw was in Chicago. Like, that would be a reason to do that. Just bring him in.
I don't remember where it happened.
Yeah, that might have been a reason to do it, just to do something cool for the Chicago crowd.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine they were seriously considering hiring them at that point. They didn't even really fit in anymore. You know, they were 6-7 years beyond fitting in with the rest of the company.
Yeah,
But
they had a hard enough time shoehorning him into 1997, dude.
exactly right in 97, they didn't even fit.
And I'm a huge Road Warriors fan, so I can say that. Like, I 100% agree with what you're saying, dude. You're right. That whole gimmick
Yeah,
had kind of faded, and it didn't really play anymore in 2003.
right.
Much less 1997.
Yeah, but even just for like shits and giggles with the War Warriors 10 years past their prime, wouldn't it have been cool to see him in a match with the fucking Dudleys?
Yes, it would have, but then you'd have the Road Warriors marks like me being like, oh, if it was the Road Warriors of like 1986, Dudleys would be fucked, dude. But
Right.
yes, on paper, that still would have been amazing to have that match, like two of the greatest teams of all time, in a lot of people's books, number 1 and number 2.
Yeah,
So yeah, in 2003, they could have put that match out there, and of course, Dudley would have and should have gone over, but it still would have been great to see.
Dudleys would have gone over and should have gone over. You're right, but it would have been awesome to see Bubba take a fucking Doomsday device.
No, Spike would have run in and take that shit. And
Oh
then the
yeah, good
3D
call.
and game over. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Then he takes it, and then the Dudleys still win.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, he'd flip Spike like 3 times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Spike could be spinning like a ninja star coming down to the mat.
Right. Oh shit.
All right,
Yeah.
you're up next, Adam.
Some of the air was coming up. All right. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Hollywood Hulk Hogan.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, do you have a time and place?
So it would seem like as we discussed during take 1 of this episode, it does make a lot of sense with the proper build-up, knowing the circumstances that did take place. Probably SummerSlam would have been the place.
2002.
Yes.
SummerSlam.
But
02.
Hogan wasn't Hollywood Hogan at that point,
Or
No, he was.
Or
he was
just
red
Hogan.
and yellow Hogan.
yeah,
which is
Hulk-
fine. Just
Hulk Hogan.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah. Just to be clear, he was not the heel Hollywood Hogan at that point.
Yeah.
Was
After
Steve Austin back at SummerSlam 2002?
I
or
think
was he still at home with his ball?
I think he was still at home.
Yeah, I think
But
he was still
so-
at home. So they make it Survivor Series.
Although you might be able to coax Austin back with a, hey, dude, sorry about that whole Brock Lesnar thing, but
No, but Austin never wanted to work with Hogan.
money
you-
talks though, dude. Shit.
Well, I guess, yeah. I mean, I guess if they paid him enough, you know.
That's what I'm saying is like, hey, sorry about all that shit that went on with Brock Lesnar. We know you're pissed, but there's a huge paycheck waiting for you in a Hulk Hogan match if you're interested.
Yeah.
Let Austin wrestle heel, you know.
I don't know if they would have even done that because at that point they were still so hot in, summer 2002. I don't think they needed to pay Austin a stupid amount of money. You know, the show was going to be sold out. It was going to do well on pay-per-view.
I think circumstance-wise, just to get him back, you would really have to up the ante, not just give him his normal high-profile paycheck for a match like that.
But I mean, for purposes of this, okay, they got him and they booked the match. You know what I mean?
Because technically he was on the roster, so Adam's match is totally in play.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, like, did they really miss the goal of having that match? Because it's really like, if you look at it, it's a small window, right? You had from like February 02, January or February, because he came back at the No Way Out pay-per-view.
No,
with
it was No
Hall of
Way
Fame.
Out.
It was about 13 months.
It was a super short window because
Yeah.
Austin was done by WrestleMania 19.
Right.
So they didn't have much to work with there. They did have the monthly pay-per-views, but in terms of like the big four, super small window because 18 wasn't going to happen.
Right.
That was Rock and Hogan. You can't rewrite that history. I
And it
think
wasn't happening at
SummerSlam-
19 either.
Definitely not. No,
know, 'cause
his
that was
send-off
Ho-
was perfect with The Rock.
And Hogan and Vince was happening.
And maybe Royal Rumble 2003, it could have worked. Possibly. Maybe
Yeah.
something like that. But that definitely does not feel like a Rumble match to me, Adam. I think you're 100% on the mark. That's a SummerSlam match.
Yeah, it just feels like SummerSlam would have been the way to go. Rumble, there would be some stakes involved that would be distracting to the rivalry
Yeah.
per se. I would say same thing with Survivor Series. I mean, in theory, that could work, but I would say the level of the competition between the two, you would have to do Mania or SummerSlam.
Well, and it's also like a one-off match, right? Much like the HBK and Hogan SummerSlam match. Hogan could have had one with Austin just like that. And it's almost like a one and done. That's it. Just like Shawn Michaels said at the end of the match, I just wanted to see, how it goes.
Austin to be overselling every move.
Could you even picture that shit?
See him
He'd
with
flip
the
over
big eyes
backwards
when
and
he
go to
does
the top
the
rope.
Flopping like a fish when he takes a fucking leg drop.
Yeah, right.
That'd have been amazing.
Yeah. That's a good one, though. Yeah, you're right. It's like, where do you squeeze that in that short window of time? But it's like the two biggest stars of all time,
Right.
and somehow that didn't happen. And Austin being gone for a good part of that window is obviously part of it. Austin not wanting to do that match would be part of it too.
Yeah.
And you're right, money talks, but at a certain point, is it worth the money that it's going to cost? Is it worth it to the company to pay him that much? Because then you got to pay Hogan that much.
Because it wasn't main eventing SummerSlam 02. That was Rock and Brock. So
Yeah,
there was no way that was going to main event.
It really was a timing issue. If Austin had been around longer, or Hogan, if say Hogan came in right after the buyout, he would have been there a year longer, or 10, 11 months longer anyway. I feel like if those times were extended, you had a little bit more time. It had to have happened at some point.
You would think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
because so many people that were...
Vince
the
would have
Monday
talked him
Night War
into
era.
it.
He would have. He would
He
have.
was already having his scrums facing off with Scott Hall at Mania. The whole kidnapping him, duct taping him and shit during SmackDown. It's inevitable that he would get to Hogan in the ring, but yeah. It's a shame,
Yeah.
but I think I would like to think that they're both at peace with it.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. It just
I'm
sucks we
sure
never got
Austin
it as
is.
fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, Austin's super happy about that shit. So Adam, I'm piggybacking off of another one of your matches here. I've also got Hogan in my next match, but I am again going to be super specific and look at WrestleMania 8 and say Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair.
The match that was booked and didn't happen.
It was supposed to happen, dude. And this is like you and I as kids, Eddie.
Mm-hmm.
This was, we've talked a lot about dream matches, but this was in 1992 the dream match. This was it. You had the head of the NWA versus the head of WWF, and now they were both on the same roster. It was going to be for the heavyweight title. This was bragging rights.
Yes.
Right, and for whatever reason, we've heard a bunch of different bullshit about this match. For whatever reason, it became Savage versus Flair and Hogan versus Sid. When all along, the stars aligned to have WrestleMania 8 headlined by Hogan and Flair.
Yeah.
That's frustrating, dude, because as a kid growing up, this was the match I always wanted. When I played wrestling figures, dude, Hogan and Flair. It was a dream match. You always wanted to see it as a kid. Who's the better man? And like I said, everything aligned, and it fucking fell apart.
Who has the
And
better
to this
attire with boa feathers? Yeah. But still, they wrestle. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's always there have always been a lot of different stories about why it didn't happen.
Right.
The biggest one is always they did that house show run and the crowds were dead for it.
The crowds were dead.
Which is, I mean, I wasn't at any of those shows, but it's hard to believe,
It totally is, dude. You can't judge a WrestleMania match by a house show build before it. The WrestleMania crowd is just inherently different. It's not a house show crowd, dude.
Yeah, right. They were just like, oh, people weren't as interested in it as we thought they would be. Or I also heard that the matches weren't good on the house shows, which is why the crowds were dead. That kind of makes sense, but how often does Ric Flair have a bad match? Or like, really, for what Hogan was, how often did he have a bad match? I mean, Hogan had his style of match, but at the time you loved it. I mean, none of Hogan's matches are, yeah, right. Like none of them hold up today. I mean, they're still entertaining to watch, but a new fan going back and watching a Hogan match now would be like, what's the big deal? I don't see why this guy was so cool.
Right.
But at the time, he was the most over fucking guy on the planet.
Totally.
Nobody's going to sit still for anything he does. So maybe they just didn't work well together. Like maybe they didn't, I don't know. And I've never heard Flair say like, oh, Hogan didn't want to work and cooperate with me in the ring or anything like that.
But dude, 2 years later, they're wrestling each other in WCW and their matches were fine.
Right. So it's one of those things like just did they somehow, and the crazy thing is they had announced it. They did that contract signing with Jack Tunney.
It was announced Hogan was the challenger. That was it. The match was set, dude.
Yeah, it wasn't like it was penciled in and then it just got scrapped. Like they had announced that as the match, and then they just out of the blue were just like, I don't even think they announced that it wasn't happening. I think they just stopped talking about it.
Yeah.
You know, they gave it that WWE treatment, right? We're
totally.
We never said that.
Yeah.
You know?
That was last Saturday, pal. We're on this Saturday now.
And really,
now it's Savage.
And really, we got a better Flair match by having him in the ring with Savage. Like, that match was great. It was way better than he and Hogan would have been.
100% agree. Yes.
But,
100% agree.
But that would just be one
You're
more.
still deprived. Yeah.
Yeah, but that would just be one more thing on that. One more highlight to show on WrestleMania highlight packages. And just, one more fucking, feather in Vince's cap that he got those two guys in the ring together, at WrestleMania. Like, it would be like that. They were so, like... Because it was like, they would be like the equivalent at the time of Austin and The Rock. You know what I mean? But until Flair came there was no Austin and Rock. There was Hogan. There was no second place or guy who was even in his tier. Warrior was close, but they weren't neck and neck. Hogan was the fucking man.
But at that point, remember, Warrior was gone.
Well, right, but I'm saying at the time they were there.
Gone.
I'm saying the closest anyone had been to being in Hogan's league was the Warrior.
Yeah,
totally, a couple years before, I guess 2 years before that. But there was nobody was neck and neck with Hogan. Right. He was the top guy, but when Flair showed up, suddenly you're like, okay, this guy is in Hogan's league.
Exactly.
That's a huge one. I mean, it's bizarre. It'll always be weird that it didn't happen. Whatever the situation was, that they couldn't get it sorted out.
Yeah, it's another WrestleMania misstep, right? Because my last one was 31. They missed the boat on Taker and Sting. Now WrestleMania 8, it's another one, Hogan and Flair, and it should have been. And again, we've heard all the stories, and we don't know which one is true, which ones are bullshit.
Right.
But it just sucks to be deprived of that. And yes, we got Hogan Flair down the road. They had plenty of matches in WCW, but it was this one. Yes. This was the one we should have gotten as a fan from the 80s to the early 90s. This would have been like, okay, who is the man? Yeah. Is it Flair? Is it Hogan? The build was there. It was done. Huge misstep.
To do it on the prime stage of it all, not a secondary one.
The Super Bowl of wrestling, yes.
Even like a secondary pay-per-view per se. I mean, you just had... Your stars were perfect and then just misstepping.
And to do it in the stadium.
You could wonder how many people at that WrestleMania use those matches as piss breaks because it wasn't Flair versus Hogan.
And
Sucks.
You pull that whole stadium, pull that entire stadium and say, hey, do you want to see Hogan and Sid and Savage versus Flair, or do you want to see Hogan versus Flair?
Yeah.
I guarantee you 85-90% of that crowd is like Hogan Flair.
And for the record, whatever match Ronnie Garvin was in would have been my piss match.
By the way, if you were in that stadium and you're watching this or you listen to us on whatever podcast platform, please let us know where your poll decision is on our social media platforms, wrestling_drunk.
And we are now on Threads.
That's true. By default.
As of last week. Yeah. No, not by default. I had to actually make a Threads account.
Oh,
but
okay.
It just ports all your shit over from Instagram, so it's actually super easy. So we're there now too. Okay, I'll do my next one. I never thought about this one until I started thinking about matches for this show, and then I was like, this was such a missed opportunity and could have been so cool. Late 1997, if we had Owen Hart versus Vince McMahon. That could have been Vince's first match. And wouldn't that have been cool? Because, Vince came out after the screw job and he thought he was going to be the baby face. And he did that interview with JR or Cole, whoever. I think it was JR.
It was JR in that dark room with a portrait of Brett just in the middle.
Yeah, and Vince is in that like mustard yellow suit, like fucking Dwight Schrute.
This was the Brett screwed Brett promo?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
And he thought he was going to be the babyface and everybody hated him. And then they turned Owen babyface right after that. He went straight into a feud with Triple H, which made perfect sense.
Totally.
But it would have made even more sense and would have been even cooler. And it would have been a good way for Vince to kind of first get into the ring, And Vince couldn't have a good match with anyone. He never had a good match. I mean, he could pull some shit off to make his matches entertaining, but he was not an athlete. But I just thought that would have been so cool. And just the story they would have had, Owen's going to kick Vince's ass. And Vince is like, whatever you think, like, I'm twice your size, nugget. Come fucking do it. And then Owen could be kicking his ass, and then Briscoe and Patterson could get involved and try to help him win. And then the Austin Vince thing had started kind of like I think we looked it up recently, and Vince had taken his first stunner like September that year, something like that. Or maybe it was earlier in the year than that. But they'd already had their shit prior to the Mike Tyson stuff, but it really heated up then. But it could have heated up a little sooner. He could have come in, Austin could have done a run-in when Patterson and Briscoe got involved, and he could have come in and helped Owen win. Get in there, give Vince a stunner, and toss Owen on top of him, something like that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And it wouldn't have done a huge amount for Owen, and Owen could move straight on to go into his feud with Triple H. But it just would have been it would have been a really cool, that might have been the night that they beat Nitro the first time,
Shit, you're probably not wrong, dude. Yeah,
Eric Bischoff's podcast might be called like 63 Weeks or whatever the hell it would amount to. You know what I mean? Like, I could see that. People would be like, and it'd be one of those things too where you're like, is Owen gonna stiff him? You know what I mean? Is he gonna take a fucking shot at Vince because he's legit pissed at him?
Yeah. Hey, Vince, Tombstone.
Right. Yeah. Shit. Well, that's a good what if episode. What if Owen Hart had broken Vince's neck with a tombstone? But I thought that would have been a cool match. And kind of a bit of a missed opportunity, like most of these.
That would have been great, dude.
Yeah.
That would have been great. I mean, you wouldn't even need to build that. It was already built.
It was done.
All the seeds were planted for that match.
They already
that
shot
was just common knowledge. Probably even if you weren't wrestling, that would probably be enough to entice you back. Like,
yeah,
it's just a revenge story. You want to see someone's ass get kicked
because everybody was talking about the screw job. So now you've got a Hart versus McMahon. Granted, it's not Brett, but it's his brother.
It's his brother. Yeah, exactly. And you set it up on one Monday and you announce it for the following Monday. So everybody knows, get ready for next week. Fuck what's going on Nitro. It's not going to be as big as this.
Damn. Yeah. And you know what? They probably would have done that too. They wouldn't have tried saving that for the Royal Rumble or whatever the December pay-per-view was. They'd have been like, fuck it. It's going on Raw.
Exactly.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Yep. All right. I'm going to close my list out with Chyna versus Victoria.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah. So around the time, before Chyna's departure, I actually forget how long Victoria was part of it. She was part of the Ho Train.
Okay.
And Chyna would still be wrestling at that time. I don't know if she was active with them for maybe a year plus or so. But either way, just when Victoria eventually came to WWF, Chyna was one of, behind the scenes, Chyna was one of her first contacts that, influenced her to come to the company and actually welcomed her to the company as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It would just take Victoria some time to actually get some in-ring action. But there was also just Chyna's contract dispute after winning the women's title. She'd be gone.
A few months after that.
Yeah. I would say within a month but either way, she was not involved in the invasion.
Right.
Because of that dispute. And then Victoria would show up X amount of time after. Because they were the contacts for each other, and if Chyna did or was able to properly negotiate a contract, then she would have had maybe 2-3 more years with the company. And even if it's limited time, that's fine. But I would have loved to see the two of them go at it. In this whole bra and panties era, two women who are jacked and...
You wanted to see Chyna in bra and panties. That's where I thought you were going, sorry.
Okay.
Don't get too excited, Adam, but she did better than bra and panties. Showed way more later, just saying.
I'm aware. We played.
Oh.
We played the Valentine's Day game.
Oh, that's right.
I'm very aware. I'm very aware. No, but just the concept of the bra and panties era instead of letting women actually wrestle. These are two women who are fucking jacked and want to rip bodies apart. And I would say like the two, just the two with some of the most effective wrestling finishers as well. I would say Pedigree and Widow's Peak.
Yeah,
I would love to
You're
see
right.
the two of
You're
them go at it.
That would have been great. That would have been really cool. I wouldn't have thought of that, but that would have been really cool. And good job, because you always come up with a women's match. Whenever we do any kind of thing like this, you're always the one who comes up with something like that. Scott and I totally never, I don't know why it's never on either of our radars.
Yeah, we're all about the dudes, apparently.
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, we're both huge fans of the women division, and always have
totally.
been. But it just, my brain never goes there because you always come up with something like that, or fucking SoCal Val somehow comes up, or whatever. You know, you always come up with something totally off the wall.
And SoCal Val's awesome. But yeah.
You love her.
Yeah, she's cool.
She's all right.
No, I'm cool with her. I'm just like, I don't know. Her name popped in my
out.
head because a while back you did something about her, and I was like, whoa, that came from out of nowhere.
Adam always saves the day.
He does.
I try. But yeah, I mean, but it's also, we definitely want to make sure that they get recognized, not just for being women's wrestlers, but for being fucking wrestlers.
For sure.
And badasses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my next one, I'm going back to 1987.
That was the year of our Lord.
Okay.
The year of our Lord, Adam, 1987. I'm going to go Ric Flair versus Dr. Death Steve Williams in a unification bout for the NWA and UWF heavyweight titles.
So this would be when Crockett bought out Watts' territory.
Yes, and the reason I picked this is because I was a huge UWF fan, a huge NWA fan, and I always felt that the UWF belt, once the merger happened, it just faded away. Like, there was no unification bout, there was no title loss. It was just, the belt was just Thanos snap and the belt was gone, right? There was no mention of it again. It disappeared, but that belt, it was prestigious. I mean, One Man Gang, Terry Gordy, Dr. Death, a lot of guys before that in the Mid-South territory. It was a who's who of who held that title.
Right.
And once the merger happened, it vanished. And I wish, I mean, obviously, 87, Flair versus Dr. Death, even if they did it early 88, there would have been, if they had a unification bout, at least with Flair winning, that would have been an exclamation point on that title.
You're
But
absolutely right. Yeah, totally. It would have been like, yeah, he is the world champion. Like, this was the other company that was our competition. We bought him out, and Flair beat their champion.
That properly ends the lineage of the title.
Yeah.
And without doing that, it was just disintegrated, forgotten about, never mentioned again. And based on all of the guys that held that title previous, I felt it was a slap in the face. It was disrespectful. It definitely earned a lot more than that, a lot more respect than that. And again, Flair would have won because there was no way Dr. Death was going over a unification bout. But still, for the sake of the title, it earned enough respect over the years to at least get that unification bout so that it would be a nice little period or exclamation point on the end of its lineage to say Flair was the final UWF heavyweight champion.
Exactly,
Belt
yeah.
retired 1987.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. That territory started in... Well, Leroy McGurk started it in the 50s. I'm not sure exactly the year, but sometime in the 50s. So I assume that title lineage goes all the way back to the 50s. I'd have to look at the title itself, to tell you that for sure. But NWA, here we go. It was active from the NWA. Oh no, that's the World Heavyweight Championship. Mid-South, 1969. It was active from 1969, so it was almost 20 years.
Almost 20 years.
And 20 years of history. They just, like you said, poof. Thanos snuffed it out.
Gone.
And it was poof, gone. Yeah, which is just. When I kind of started to find out about that, I was like, none of this, because I missed. I wasn't really. I didn't watch NWA at all, other than I'm at a friend's house who has it on because I didn't have cable back then. And UWF, I was like barely even aware of, other than the magazines, I had no knowledge of it.
Actually, in our area, Eddie, it was on late Saturday nights on Channel 44.
Well, shit. I wish someone would have told me that.
I didn't know you.
Yeah. Jeff knew me.
I used to dick.
Yeah, right. Well, late Saturday. Well, you know what? Late Saturday nights, I was watching Headbangers Ball.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and years later, I was trying to watch Scrambled Spice Channel on my parents' cheater box.
Right.
But was blessed enough to be able to watch the UWF, and just watching the title disappear the way that it did, I felt was just huge disrespect.
Yeah.
And again, they could have done the match on a Saturday night or 6:05 Eastern, whatever, on their Saturday show in the television studio. I wouldn't have given a shit, but at least it would have given the belt the proper respect that it had earned over all those years.
Totally.
Almost 20 years.
Yeah, I completely agree. Okay, I'll get to my last one, and we'll wrap this up. So the first one I had in mind that I thought would have been a pretty cool match was China versus X-Pac. Then I realized they had a match, but it was a direct-to-video match, so I didn't use that.
Twice.
Yeah, exactly, twice.
Oh,
What's going on? None of my sound effects are working tonight. Damn it! I'm gonna put I was gonna play the Pornhub sound. It won't play. I don't know what's going on.
You're like the opposite of Fred from Howard Stern.
I know, right?
You're like fucked up Fred.
I worked so hard to get these sound effects in here too, and now they're just failing on me.
They worked ahead of recording, dude. They were fine.
I know. It would have been funny. But my actual last one is, and this is the only one I saved from the first time we recorded this: King Kong Bundy versus Little Beaver. I think that match deserved a rematch. I think that was bullshit that Bundy got DQ'd, and I think there should have been no rule. It's not fair. We don't have weight divisions in wrestling or weight classes in wrestling. There's no reason that Bundy shouldn't have been able to attack a midget. And I don't even care if it's a different division. You put them in the fucking same match together. It should be fair game. So I've got Bundy versus Little Beaver. This would have been before SummerSlam, so it would have probably just been like a big house show. You know, they would do those big shows that were not on pay-per-view at the time. Right, 87? Yeah, SummerSlam wasn't until 88. Oh, Survivor Series, I think, was 87. Fuck it, put it on Survivor Series in the semi-main event, and Bundy's getting his win back. Thank you.
I'm giving you the silent treatment, dude.
That's probably
bullshit.
That's probably as reasonable as anything else.
Our first Twitch.
Our first Twitch.
That's your main event match. Like,
yeah, hopefully
Little Beaver versus King Kong Bundy.
Semi-main. Well, it's my main event match, but it's a semi-main of Survivor Series.
you should practically have a carnival in the parking lot of that venue if that's going to be the... if that's going to be on the card.
And I give them like 7 minutes too. You know what I mean? Like give them some real time.
They're
like let them go
really
out there.
need that.
Let them go out there and tear the house down. Beaver could do the run between his legs spot and bite him on his ass. You know, pull out all the midget. You know, the
Go to
classic
pin
midget.
Bundy, and Bundy throws them onto the referee. The referee catches him, puts him back on Bundy.
Yeah, they do it. They do it like 7 or 8 times.
7 or 8 times. Yeah, I mean that's at least 3 minutes right there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's fucking gold.
Yeah. I think we would have been a good match. It wouldn't have been the worst. I could go back and look at Survivor Series 87. I guarantee it wouldn't have been the worst match on the show.
That'd be more...
If they'd saved it till 88, nobody'd be talking about Liz taking off her skirt. They would have been talking about Little Beaver getting smushed by Bundy.
You're right. And that's all I've got for this episode. And I think it's time to wrap it up, Adam.
Eddie's finishing on a high note. I love it.
Always.
All right. That takes care of our episode of
Oh, my
matches.
sound effects are working now. So the Pornhub stuff, the Pornhub one just won't work. It must be that effect. Okay,
did you
sorry.
click that you're 21 or over?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Yeah, everything else seems to work. Oh well.
No, that counts as a proper Pornhub sound. That takes care of our episode of matches that we wish would have. Dude.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Dude. That takes care of our episode of matches that we wish would have happened. What did you think of the matches that we came up with? And what are some matches that you would have liked to see happen? Please let us know on the social media platforms, on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and on Threads, because we can now there. And it actually, is anybody listing matches on the stream?
No.
Because we're not talking to them. They're like, fuck
Yeah,
these
because
guys.
we're not interacting
They're in
with them.
deep thought.
We're bad Twitchers.
This is our first time twitching.
But anyway, anyone who watches this, who watched this now, or who watches it, if it's archived, thanks for checking it out, and we hope you liked it. And if you want to hear more of this, we're on all the podcast platforms and YouTube.
You'll be able to find us. Please listen, follow us. Tell your family, friends, Heels and Faces to like, share, and subscribe to our show. Please leave us reviews so that we could get recognition boosts of many formats and we keep this drunk wrestling adventure going. So, on behalf of Eddie and Scott, I'm Adam reminding all of you to enjoy your buzz, watch wrestling responsibly, drink like nobody's watching, and we'll see you all next time for another great episode. 1, 2, 3. Thanks for putting us over.
Dive.
I could go for a little beaver.
All right, that went well.
I think so. How many people tuned in?
3.
Truth in your eyes.